Hey Vinny, it's Nana, and I just picked up a book at the library called Harold and the Purple Crayon, and I'm super excited to read it to you. This book is by a guy named Crockett Johnson, and it was one of your dad's favorites, and it's one of my favorites. It's an old book. Let me see, it was from 1955. That was even before Nana was born, but it's a wonderful book. One evening, after thinking it over for some time, Harold decided to go for a walk in the moonlight. There wasn't any moon, and Harold needed a moon for a walk in the moonlight, and he needed something to walk on. What's he doing? He made a long, straight path so he wouldn't get lost, and he set off on his walk, taking his big purple crayon with him. But he didn't seem to be getting anywhere on the long, straight path, so he left the path for a shortcut across a field, and the moon went with him. How would you like the moon to go with you while you're walking? The shortcut led right to where Harold thought a forest ought to be. He didn't want to get lost in the woods, so he made a very small forest with just one tree in it. It turned out to be an apple tree. The apples would be very tasty, Harold thought, when they got red. Can you count all the apples on that tree? There's a lot. So he put a frightening dragon under the tree to guard the apples. It was a terribly frightening dragon. It even frightened Harold. He backed away. His hand holding the purple crayon shook. Oh my. Suddenly, he realized what was happening, but by then Harold was over his head in an ocean. Oh no, what has happened to Harold? He came up thinking fast. And in no time, he was climbing aboard a trim little boat. He quickly set sail, and the moon sailed along with him. You have a boat, don't you? You go on the boat with your mom and dad all the time. After he had sailed long enough, Harold made a land without much trouble. He stepped ashore on the beach, wondering where he was. The sandy beach reminded Harold of his picnics, and the thought of picnics made him hungry. So he laid out a nice, simple picnic lunch. Yummy. Uh-oh. What would you make for your lunch, Vinny? There was nothing but pie, but there were all 9 kinds of pie that Harold liked best. When Harold finished his picnic, there was quite a lot left. He hated to see so much delicious pie go to waste. So, Harold left a very hungry moose and a deserving porcupine to finish it up. And off he went, looking for a hill to climb to see where he was. Harold knew that the higher up he went, the farther he could see, so he decided to make the hill into a mountain. If he went high enough, he thought he could see the window of his bedroom. Harold's climbing up his mountain, isn't he? He was tired, and he felt he ought to be getting to bed. He hoped he could see his bedroom window from the top of the mountain. Do you think he could? But as he looked down over the other side, he slipped, and there wasn't any other side of the mountain. He was falling into thin air. Uh-oh, Harold, where are you going? But luckily, he kept his wits and his purple crayon. He made a balloon, and he grabbed onto it. And he made a basket under the balloon, big enough to stand in. He had a fine view from the balloon, but he couldn't see his window. He couldn't even see a house. Oh no. Let's see. So, he made a house with windows, and he landed the balloon on the grass in the front yard. Did you see the little grass that he made? None of the windows was his window. He tried to think where his window might be. When you're in your yard, do you see your window? He made some more windows. He made a big building full of windows. He made lots of buildings full of windows. He made a whole city full of windows. But none of the windows was his window. He couldn't think where it might be. So he decided to ask a policeman. The policeman pointed the way Harold was going anyway, but Harold thanked him. And he walked along with the moon, wishing he was in his room and in bed. Then suddenly Harold remembered. He remembered where his bedroom was when there was a moon. It was always right around the moon. And then Harold made his bed, and he got in and he drew up the covers. The purple crayon dropped on the floor, and Harold dropped off to sleep. The end. Okay, that was Harold and the Purple Crayon by Crockett Johnson. I got this at the library just like you do. I know your mama and daddy take you to the library to get books, and you can get this one if you like. Otherwise, Nana can read it to you over and over and over.